Good morning, everybody. Good morning, it's me, Mitch, wearing my Carnivore Food Pyramid Old Guy Carnivore shirt. I never push my merch, but I love this shirt. I love this shirt. And it's black, and I like black shirts. I like black shirts. How is everybody this morning? Good to see you as we all arrive. First order of business, always, and most important, I think, drink it if you got it. And I got it. Wrong bite. God, I hate it when that happens. When I sip too slowly, I try to breathe it instead of drinking it. Well, while we funnel in, let's all watch Mitch cough up a lung. That's better. It's Monday. Another Monday. Actually makes no difference to me. Monday is just like every other day of the week. Busy weekend carnivore-wise. Holy mackerel. So many live streams. Including mine on Saturday night. Which was very, very, very lively. Very lively. I kind of invented a new term this morning to honor my friend Kiltsy. I'll call it a Kiltsism. A Kiltsism. Kilts has got a good sense of humor. He kind of tickled my fancy this morning when he called this bean juice. Bean juice. I guess it is. Bean juice. So, this is Morning Bean Juice with Mitch this morning in honor of that. Very good. Wow. Francine Bourgeois. Look at that. Sponsored 5 new members in the members community. And let's see who got them. Oh my God, Aaron. I thought you guys were already members. Maybe you let it lapse. Aaron received 1. Target Prime Rib Thomas received 1. Sunny Riot received 1. Toe Cramp. Now there's a painful sounding name. And fuck if I know, Chaz. Another interesting name. Received a gift membership. So welcome everybody. And that was FUGG, if I know, Chaz. In that case, it's not a dirty word. It's close. But so is friggin', frack, and so many other substitutes. And as far as I'm concerned, no words are dirty. I don't know who came up with that concept. It's all up here. Rick says, duck it. Yes, duck it, Rick. It goes to show you just how easily our thoughts and minds are led astray and manipulated. And we fall for it. And they call that brainwashing. And it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Well, good to see you all this morning. Wow, 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 wow. Kilt's had a great, I have to compliment it. The issue this morning was great. That guest of his was a sweetheart. Maybe I'm a sucker for a British accent, but it was a great show. And Kelsey, like I, kept trying to rein in the complications and focus on keep it simple. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Doesn't mean we're stupid. That's the saying. Keep it simple. It is simple. It is simple. And I think one of the things that Kelsey points out so often, which I agree with 1,000%, is the way we misuse the concepts of sugars, proteins, and fats. I really believe that. I really believe that. High protein diet. Where are you getting this protein for your high protein diet? Is it plant protein or is it animal protein? What's in a protein bar when you go to the store and buy one? Besides all the garbage and sugar and chemicals, what kind of protein is it? Does it say anywhere? Probably does, down in the ingredients list, but more than likely it is plant protein, or they use a lot of whey protein, which is a milk product. High protein. What protein? We don't know. And what is a high protein diet? I was watching Butter Bob's live stream last night, and he started out describing his attempt to add protein to his diet. What protein? How much? How do you know if you're not getting enough protein? I think we focus too much on protein. I think the problem with most carnivores, and these are thoughts that crossed my mind after watching Bob and last night and Kilts this morning, just how confusing we make it for ourselves. How much protein? What kind of protein? And don't we carnivores have exactly the opposite problem? And isn't the real problem, the most common problem, that it's not that we get too much protein, it's that we don't get enough fat? Isn't the low fat end of it the biggest problem, the biggest brainwashing, the reason that most people are so misled, the reason that products brag about two things they put on the label? They brag more about low fat. We've been living with that for decades. Now all of a sudden they're bragging about high protein. They're putting protein into Reese's peanut butter cups, for God's sake, and putting it on the label. They're leading us again. It's marketing bullshit. It is the wrong thing. After I listened to Bob last night describe how he was upping his protein intake to point so many grams per pound of body weight, I said to myself, I have no frigging idea what my protein in grams to pound of body weight ratio is. Do you? Do you care? Do you care? And then later on in his show, he said that after he increased his protein, he thinks his ratio now is about 70 to 75% fat and 20 or 25% protein. Isn't that what we tell people to shoot for? Without having to go in, buy a calculator or a computer program to figure it out, or a tracking program to track it, along with 10,000 other things you need to put in the tracking program? Complicates it. It just complicates it. Here's the key. Here's how I keep it simple. I go by the assumption. I know that's not a good word. Assume. And you know the old saying, assume makes an ass out of you and me. Okay. But I go by the assumption that in nature, the way it comes, straight from the cow, straight from the egg, the fat to protein ratio is exactly right. Exactly right. Not too high, not too low. That's how come that's what we need. Because these are the foods that our physiology adapted to over eons. It's not the other way. The food didn't adapt to our needs. We adapted to the foods. Just like we adapted to the amount of oxygen in the air. We adapted to gravity. We adapted to our environment. And the ones of us that could not adapt, that was the end of that family line, and they went extinct. And those that could adapt reproduced and lived on, and we are the final product of that today. So we don't have to adapt the food to us. We are already adapted to the food. If you want to keep this really, really, really simple, eat real food the way it comes from nature. When you eat fatty meat, you get the right ratio. When you eat eggs, you can't help but get the right ratio because you can't fool with the egg while it's all sealed up in the shell. And you don't unseal it or process it in any way. You crack the egg open. So I eat 5-6 eggs a day, which I know have exactly the right fat to protein ratio. And I know it's all animal fat and animal protein. And there's no more guesswork. A good fatty prime rib, pretty much the same. But a lot of us tend to not eat every last bite of fat. So our biggest problem in carnivore is getting too much protein because we don't eat enough fat. We're not eating the sugars, although, yes, there are sugars everywhere. All kinds of different sugars. It depends on how you define sugar. But meat contains a trace amount of carbs. Eggs contain a trace amount of carbs. And I agree we have to have some, but we can make them. We can convert things in our body to carbohydrates through gluconeogenesis, which is, again, another name we gave to a process that we theorize happens because we can't see it. We can't see it. It's too small. Molecular level reactions are not visible. We can't, I don't care how powerful our microscope is, we're not going to see this stuff happening. We can only theorize that they happen because we started with this, we ended up with that, and we know enough about chemistry to theorize the pathway and how it worked. And we got some idea. So keep it simple. It's so easy to do. You throw away the calculator. It works. And when we overcomplicate it, we are more likely to screw ourselves up and drop out. While we're busy perusing YouTube and hunting and searching for that next new revelation that's going to fix all of our problems. And the more of those we find, the more astray we're led. And that's going to be my little monologue this morning as I drink my bean juice. And plan on what I'm going to eat today, which is very, very, very simple. I'm going to have half a dozen eggs. I'm going to have 4 or 5 strips of that Wright's bacon. I'm going to follow it up maybe 3 hours later with 2 or 3 burger patties. That's it. That's it. And I won't get too much protein. I won't get too little fat. Just like Little Red Riding Hood. It's just right. It's just right. Just right. Excuse me a second. First thing in the morning. At any rate, welcome, welcome, welcome. Mitch, can you please explain the reasons and the benefits of taking MCT oil? Well, again, it's all theory. That's all theory, Peter. I'm taking it in the morning. 1 dose of a powder, MCT powder. I mix it in my coffee. It turns it blonde. I never drank blonde coffee in 50 years, but I'm drinking blonde coffee in the morning, my first cup. And I put a pat of butter in it. So I'm making, in essence, what has been labeled bulletproof coffee. It's, in that case, it's all about ketones, which I don't track and I don't measure, and I normally wouldn't think about ketones. Because in a normal course of a carnivore diet, and you put that back up again, in a normal course of a carnivore diet, we're probably in ketosis and out of ketosis exactly like we're supposed to be. I don't think we're supposed to be in ketosis all the time. I really don't think so. I think everybody talks about flexing. I got a whole book here by Ben Azadi about flexing. It's the whole reason that all of this noise has come up lately about you have to add some carbs back in because you're not flexing. I think the keto and so many influencers, and I won't mention any names, are so focused on measuring your ketones every 5 minutes, staying in ketosis. I think if you weigh 400 pounds and all you're interested in is losing weight, that might not be a bad idea. But for most of us who have already shed the weight, gotten healthier, I think we need to let our bodies do what they want to do. They're smarter than we are. When they want to be in ketosis, they will. When they want to be out of ketosis, they will. This has to do with aging, Peter. My addition of the MCT oil, which sometimes I refer to as exogenous ketones, is that the MCT oil promotes a ketogenic state. It promotes the production of beta hydroxybutyrate, BHB, which is the predominant form of ketones in our bloodstream. And it's pretty well known that our muscles and our brains actually perform better. Once you get over, say, 40 or 50, 60, we have physiological changes in our body. The number of mitochondria that we have in any cell starts to decrease. Their efficiency to generate ATP or energy decreases. And I've been studying this and seeing it and hearing opinions on it for years and years and years. And the ones that make the most sense are that once you get over a certain age, there are certain things that you should do to combat the normal effects of aging, because that's what we're supposed to do. We were born We grow up a little bit and we start being obsessed with reproducing, so we spend our time cruising for a mate. We enter that phase in our life where we have families. If we're lucky, the urge to cruise kind of diminishes, or it doesn't, because, interesting enough, men can cruise well into their 70s and 80s, maybe even 90s. I know I could. But very rarely, once we've fulfilled our obligation to the species, and that is replace ourselves and keep going so we don't become extinct, physical changes, we begin dying. Dying is a long, slow process, and we begin to die. Maybe at 40 or 50, we have all kinds of changes. We can't eat all that crap we used to be able to eat. We start getting fat. We start getting the poisonings from all the plants and bad food and processed food, and seed oils. And we start getting diabetes and heart disease. At 60, dementia is becoming very, very, very common. And this is all because our cellular structure is basically starting to die. And it's been kind of shown, and call it anecdotal, I know I feel it, that there are certain things you can do. And the two things that I elected to do, I think, are maybe, and I say maybe, the jury's still out. Again, come back when I'm 110 and I'll tell you distinctively what happened. I won't know until I get to be 110, if ever, or be able to say, well, it worked for me. All I can tell you at this point is I feel a little more energetic and my brain works as good as anybody my age can expect their brain to work, I think. And the MCT oil stimulates ketogenesis, and the ketogenesis, your brain runs better on the BHB than it does on glucose, that's for sure, and so do your heart muscles and so many other things. That's part of getting older. The other part of getting older is fighting sarcopenia, the natural tendency to become less active in old age. The old people back in the caves did not participate in the hunts anymore. It wasn't their job anymore. And there are exercises that you should do when you get older that young people don't need to do. I think the most important of those is stand up out of a chair and sit down 30, 40, 50 times a day without holding on to anything. Just stand up. Stand up. Those muscles are actually more important and not exercised in walking. So just walking isn't going to... There's so many different little things. They're little things that seem very unimportant by themselves. And as I discovered what these little things are, I'm trying to add it in. Because I did change the name of my channel to Healthy Aging, in parentheses. So Peter, it's a great question. That's why. That is why I'm taking the MCT oil in the coffee in the morning, followed up by my second cup of coffee, which is this one, which has 5 grams of creatine in it. Because creatine, I've been through the chemistry of it, basically is like a backup battery for your cellular energy generation equipment that gives you 10 or 15% boost when you're starting to run out of energy. And it's something that seems to be helping me. But then again, my energy and my entire life is kind of colored by the damage that was done by my stroke. That's both good and bad. it's bad because who wants to have a stroke or go through what I went through for the past year? But on the other hand, I've been living for a year with such a low level of energy and tiring so fast that any change for the positive becomes immediately evident to me, where it might not to somebody who, in a normal course of living their day and walking around, doesn't get tired and feel and run out of energy. And there are still some days when I kind of overdo it, that by 2 or 3 in the afternoon, I just feel sluggish. I can feel like my battery's going dead. And I go in and lay down for an hour. And that seems to do it. I never, ever had to take a nap in my life. So I'm more sensitive to these little changes that I'm seeing by the creatine and by the MCT oil than most people might. And I am seeing a difference. I don't know if you'll see a difference, but I am. And again, I'm not a doctor, not a nutritionist. I don't think there's many doctors or nutritionists that know what the hell they're talking about anyway. So that really doesn't matter. I talk about what I theorize and what I can observe and tell you about it. And that's about it. You make up your own mind. And I put myself out as an example. I'll be 79 in 5 or 6 weeks. Oh, God. 5 or 6 weeks. 79. I think my brain still works pretty well. I think I'm still pretty quick. My memory, I think, is as good as it ever was. I know a lot of stuff, and I still remember all that stuff. So I put myself out as an example and say, okay, I'm doing all this stuff. I'm 79 years old. Most men today don't live that long anyway, so I've already passed my statistical expiration date, and I'll go head to head with anybody. I don't care, old, young, or otherwise, when it comes to having a sharp mind and being able to think. Certainly the exact opposite of what most people at my age are suffering from, who maybe don't even remember the names of their children. So I can't tell you what to do. I can show you, and I'm in a position to show you. I'm probably the oldest full-time or regular YouTuber that comes on here and exposes myself every day and my condition to all of you, so you can make up your own mind. Do genetics play a role in that? How could they not? How could they not? But if you keep the machinery working, and it's not complicated, and you follow this lifestyle, and I credit Kiltsy for some of the very simple advice. Stop measuring, stop counting, eat the whole foods, focus on fat. And the most important thing that he says that I agree with, which I've always agreed with, but it's kind of a different way of looking at it, is that the only choice, you don't have to worry about eating protein, you don't have to worry about eating fat, you don't have to worry about all that stuff. You have one choice to make, and that is, does your food come from animals or does your food come from plants? And we have elected not to eat plants, and we know why. And I think that's the main reason that we're getting more fat and less protein, unless we continue to fall for the brainwashing that says fat's bad for you. Well, you got to get your food from one of 3 macros. It's either going to be fat, protein, or carbohydrates. And there's animal fat, protein, and carbohydrates, and there's plant fat, protein, and carbohydrates. When you get your food from animals, you're automatically going to get enough fat unless you conscientiously go for a low-fat, animal-based diet, in which case, when you get less of your percentage of energy from animal fat, you've got to replace it with one or both of the other two basic things. You got to up your protein intake or up your carbohydrate intake. And the reason we're in this pickle is because after you take all the fat out of a diet, which we've been trying to do for 70 years, you got to put something in its place. If you're not eating fat, and most people get their proteins from meat, and you cut the meat out, you got one thing left: starch and sugars. And that's why we're killing ourselves. So we know that. We know that. Wow, look how many long comments are going by, Ron. I disagree with some of that, Mitch, says Amy. For some people like me, when there are stalls and things are working, tracking is a tool. This was starting to kill some people. Okay, I agree. If you have a specific problem, if it's not working like everybody says it's working, of course you have to try to figure out why. We're all different. Amy, I appreciate that. Of course, if you have a stall. I don't have a stall. Doesn't apply to me. I don't need to track anything. I can keep it simple. I never intended people to say, you got to do it like Mitch. There are so many people out there. Maybe there's something wrong. Maybe there's a metabolic problem that needs to be, I don't know. And there are times where we do need tests and we do need doctors and somebody. But if you find a doctor, at least find one that doesn't think you're killing yourself and tries to make you live on spinach smoothies. It's a tough world out there. I can't get medical attention. I'm almost at a point in my life, before I go to one of these quacks and try to get any advice, I listen to the guests that Kiltz had this morning. Listen to what the doctors put her through. What they were proposing would have ruined her entire life. And all these dietitians and nutritionists. So there's always exceptions. It doesn't mean I'm wrong. It doesn't mean you have to disagree with me. Understand exactly where I'm coming from. If you're a 140 pound, 79-year-old man that has lived my twin life, identical life, there might be a chance you can do exactly what I do. Don't get me wrong, please. Please. But for most of us who don't experience things contrary to what we're led to believe is going to happen, and it does work, I think the best advice I can give anybody is simplify it. Simplify it. And Amy, I know you have a lot of challenges, and for some reason, you can't make your appetite go away. Well, I can't help you with that. I can't advise you with that. And neither, unfortunately, can some of these doctors. They've never been able to help me. Doctors have only hurt me unless it was something plumbing or electrical related. From a physiological standpoint, from a metabolic standpoint, these doctors are morons. They've never been taught anything, and what they have been taught comes from Ellen G. White and the Seventh-day Adventists poo-pooing meat because it causes sexual thoughts in men, and that's a sin. We live in an absurd world. I'm trying to bring some sanity and reality into it. I haven't said good morning to anybody yet. Let me go back to the beginning of the chat. God, I managed to... I guess that's the way my morning show goes. I just pontificate, and an hour goes by. I don't really have any particular goal in mind when I start these things. I have no script in mind. I just start going. I don't... It was funny. It came up in Bob's chat last night. I don't... First of all, I can't type like I used to, and I was never a typist. I was always a hunt and peck kind of guy, two-finger typist. But my right hand, it's crazy. It's so frustrating for me to try to type. And voice typing is something you certainly can't do when you're live in a live stream. But voice typing makes, because of my stroke and slight slurring of my words, which is probably with me for life now, voice typing screws up fabulously with me and types some of the most incredible shit you've ever read, and which I've actually hit the post button a couple of times and had to come out and correct it all second time. So it's not easy for me to be in chats. It is, however, easy for me to put a microphone in front of my face and come online. So I don't chat back and forth like so many of you do, because I can't. And even when I could, I didn't anyway. And when my kids text me on the phone, I yell at them. I say, what did you do before we had this texting crap? You used to call me, hi, Pop, how are you? And we had a conversation. Call me, I used to say to him. Call me. Don't text me unless it's just something like be over at 5:30 or something like that. When you have to give me a little information. If you don't get me or expect me to get into a texting conversation that lasts for half an hour, I will not do it. And when my kids text me, I call them right back. That when you get your text, there's always a little telephone icon. I always call them. And the first thing I say is, I told you not to text me. I don't like texting. I can't enter into a conversation where half of what I said comes out wrong, spelled wrong, or different words entirely, and I have to keep worrying about correcting it. Talk to me. And I don't know why they still rebel against that. They don't want to talk. Kids today don't want to talk. They text from morning to night. That's their life. It is destructive to society. We're going down a really bad rabbit hole with all this technology, unfortunately. Rick says, my phone will not accept text messages. Well, no phone that existed 40 years ago that had a rotary dial on it would accept text messages. And if you remember the first ones, the first time we texted, they didn't even have a keyboard. You had to do it with the number key, remember? You had to press the I 4 times and the M 3 times. Oh, I remember those days. I refused to participate, which is why I never got really good at this thumb business. But after the stroke now, with my right hand not having the precision that it should have, I can't play the piano very well anymore. I can't type anymore. And there are certain things that I exercise and I work on that just aren't getting back to where they were. And I have to adapt the fact and accept the fact that for my remaining years, and I refuse to call it a handicap, but I'm going to have to base my life and live around these limitations. Maybe in 2 or 3 more years, they'll get a little better. It's been the hardest thing in my stroke recovery has been to acceptance, like the 5 stages of grief. The last one is acceptance. Accepting the reality that my whole body is just not going to work like it used to. And I balance that against the fact that I'm an old man by most standards, even though inside I'm still a young man, and I have a young man's attitude. And that's the most important thing to me. I don't feel old. I feel maybe the effects of aging sometimes, but I don't feel old. And I refuse to get old in my thinking. I'm still a clown. I still behave like a young man, like a kid. I stay away from the old people's activities in this community I live in. You'll never find me on the shuffleboard court. Sorry, my friends. I never joined AARP. When they came looking for me at 50 years old, I told them to F off. I'm not old. I will never join your stupid organization. And I've lived up to that to today. And God knows they've wasted a fortune on sending me mail over all these years. Since I was 50. That's when they start chasing you. You're a 50-year-old young man, and they want you to feel like you're an old man already. They want you to feel like you're over the hill, Mitch. It's time to slow down and hit that shuffleboard court and do what most old people do. Start drinking more alcohol, start eating more garbage, and lounging around with a bag of Doritos and a beer. Enjoy your retirement. I'll never retire. I will work till the day I die. Even if I didn't need it, even if I was independently wealthy, I will not stop working. I won't stop having a purpose, a message, something that makes me feel like I'm still relevant. Because as we get older, it seems like we become less and less relevant in our children's lives, even though we're probably the source of great advice and wisdom. The children look at us and feel like we get stupid when we get old. There's always the potential we may become a burden to our children and it costs them a lot of money they may not have. When we fall prey to the necessity of a nursing home or full-time care, which is less and less secure these days because less and less people have enough insurance to cover the costs of long-term care. I watched both my children get stuck with their other in-laws, not me, but their other in-laws that monopolize their lives now because they can't take care of themselves any longer. And I swore to both of my kids that I would do everything in my power to stay independent and never need anything from them. And not burden them. And so far, I've been able to live up to that. And I hope I can continue to live up to that for the rest of my life. This getting old is not what any of us have ever really anticipated. And the best thing we can do, and if I can show you any example of that, is to keep going. Stay young inside. Never give up. Never surrender. In the words of Tim Allen from Galaxy Quest, a great cult movie if you've never seen it. Never give up. Never surrender. And you have to have that attitude and you keep plugging forward. And I see Kiltsy's doing it. But there aren't too many people our age. People may look our age, but those people that look my age, most of them are 20 years younger than me. It's crazy. They're just about 60 now. Look at Sean Baker. Now, Sean Baker, we can't be Sean Baker. Nobody can be Sean Baker. He's a very rare, both genetically and his attitude. And He's looking the lottery of physical health. And the amount of work he wants to do to maintain it. But so was Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was Sean Baker's age. See that somebody who's not even 60 yet can be a monster physically. But we have to look at what happens to these monsters when they get to be close to 80. And all I can say, you got a ton of movie stars out there. Take your pick. Bruce Willis. Take your pick. Look at these guys today. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Look at him. Look at Sylvester Stallone. They are not what they were when they were 60. The best thing you can do in aging is not to be a bodybuilder. Take my word for it. You won't be able to walk anymore. Your joints won't hold up to it. Don't be a bodybuilder. If you want to exercise, you have to focus on different exercises. You have to accept the fact that the normal course of aging is going to be sarcopenia. That when you lose strength in certain muscles, you got to buy one of these chairs that you sit in and push a button, and it helps me up. You've all seen the commercials for those things. Crazy. The rules change. The rules change. When you get advice from people who are 50 to 60 and you're pushing 80, you can't listen to that advice when it comes to exercising your physical health. You can't. The rules change. The rules change. Wow, look at this, 128 people here. Holy cow. What are you doing, Mitch? What are you saying? I must be saying something that means something. And thank you so much, everybody, to come in here this morning. When I see that my viewership is actually going up a little bit, that is so heartwarming for me. Again, the most important thing, and I've said this all along for me in my life, it's not about money so much anymore. I only need so much money now because that happens when you're old. You're not constantly thinking about your retirement. I remember all my life worried about, am I going to be able to retire? How much money am I going to have? Will I be able to stop working? Am I investing it right? And I've had financial disasters, not of my own making, and answered that question for me. Well, Mitch, no, you're not going to have a retirement. You're going to struggle until the day you die, so get used to it. So I got used to that a long time ago. I'm in the majority of people out there, in the majority of people, especially these days when we don't have jobs like we used to have. We used to all work for, the accepted thing. You become a company man. You put your 30 years in, and you retire with a very nice pension and move to Florida. Well, it sounded good back then. But now it's, you'll never have a job that lasts 30 years because your company's going to be taken over, bought out. Management's going to change. You never have job security like that. Oh, by the way, your health insurance is going to suck now because it's just gotten too expensive for these companies to buy health insurance. Oh, and by the way, we don't offer a retirement plan anymore. You have a 401k, which you have to contribute to. It will match a little bit, but by God, we're not going to take care of you for the rest of your life. If you want to have a secure retirement, you better start putting away right now. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. What percentage of people actually have enough money when they turn 65 to actually retire? I got a text. Barry Simon texted me. 128 watching, but 129 now. Barry, what did you do? Have you been calling your friends, telling them that this old lunatic is ranting on? I'm still drinking it. I still got it. I got half a cup left. And it's almost 10 to 8 already. Wow, wow, wow. I'm having fun. I'm having a good time today. I hope I'm saying something other than ranting and meaningful. I still haven't started to say hello to everybody, so let me do it real fast. Laurie White, so Lady June, how you doing? Good to see you. You, Myra, was here early, and Rough Carnivore, good morning to you. I'll just go down these things here. Wayne Herman, hi. Wayne, how are you? This is way back at the beginning. Good morning. Good morning, Mike Seeley Sr. How are you, my friend? Good to see you. And here we have Brian Dish said good morning. And got so many people here today. Brick, my good friend Rick. Boy, we had a hell of a weekend. We had a hell of a live stream weekend. Me and Kilts, wow. Saturday Night Live on this channel was great. We had Kilts here and managed to keep him under control. And then he had his Sunday morning live stream. We went on that. And then I went and watched Bob last night. Butter Bob. And he had a guest, a nice young lady last night. And I'm sure that her, quote, testimony was probably very meaningful. Very meaningful. For 20-year-olds or 30-year-olds. And we have a need for that. The young kids today need to hear from other young people that are 19 years old. But those of us that are 60, 70, and 80, we might take away something from that, but advice you'd give to a 20-year-old from a 20-year-old just didn't apply to me. So I could not get interested in that. I couldn't, like I got interested in Kilta's guest this morning, but I couldn't get interested. I can't listen to the wisdom of children. I'm sorry, I just can't. And that'll happen to most of you when you get that old. But I stayed there and I watched it. And I went and clicked the StreamYard link because I figured it. Bob said that he was going to bring people in, and I always want to support him when I can. So, rather than do something that I would find mentally stimulating, I continued to watch him interview the 20, and then the questions started. Now, this is not finding fault with Bob, in no way. But most of the questions seem to come from her father. And whenever we got to the point, and when it was already an hour in, I'm waiting there with my finger on the button to enter the studio. Got all my computer set up in the studio, and I'm sitting there with the headphones like this, and I'm waiting for Bob to say, okay, let's see who we got here to bring into the panel. It just kept going on and on and on. And every time they ran out of questions, her father asked her another question. Now, I'm sure her father's very proud of her. But it got to 9 o'clock. And I felt like an absolute idiot. So I said, I didn't know how long he was going to go, but I wasn't going to wait anymore. The viewership was down to about 80 people. 80 people. For Butter Bob. That's what happens. So I just said goodnight to everybody in the chat and shut off the computer for the night. So I never did get to go in and see Bob. But I was waiting for an hour. Now, Bob is doing the best he can, and this is not your father's YouTube anymore. This is not the YouTube from 10 years ago. And I'm sure it's a rude awakening for Bob. The differences, especially when it comes to live streams, because we didn't do the live streams 10 years ago. It's a different world, my friend, a different world. And I don't know how I get and maintain an audience. People might, I don't know, maybe people are watching because it's like a NASCAR race. They know that sooner or later, I'm going to go off on something, and there's a chance that it might be very entertaining. And entertaining is the key, because as far as just given the information, I could tell you everything you need to know about carnivore in 10 minutes. You got to have a sense of humor. You got to try to get people to laugh. You got to try to make people feel good about things, about themselves. You got to give them, say things that people can say, God, that sounds familiar. I know exactly what he's talking about. That happened to me. That's what you have to do. I'm not that good at it. I don't have 50,000 people watching my live streams, but I must be good enough to keep a few good friends close. And I've never failed to tell you guys how much I appreciate you coming in here and appreciate the fact that you find something about me worthwhile or worth being around or worth listening to. And that's the most important thing. As far as carnivore goes, if I just gave you carnivore advice from morning to night, I'd be gone by now. What else can I say? Eat 70% fat, the rest protein, no carbs. Fast sometimes, do intermittent fasting. Here's how to cook a chuck roast. Throw it in a slow cooker and put a lid on it. Buy this vacuum seal, you'll appreciate it. Blah, blah. How do you, when there's so little really that you need to know, and the less you know, I think, about carnivore sometimes, the more chance you have to actually be successful. The less you keep trying to overcomplicate it. I struggle to keep it simple, and it's kind of against my modus operandi to even recommend a supplement. But in bringing aging into the picture, some supplements can really help. Whether they're going to make me live longer, who knows? Or who cares? Who cares? I don't care. When I'm gone, I'm gone. The only thing that living longer actually is going to give me at my age is more time to have more disasters, more pain, more sickness, more illness. That's what my future looks like, and it's my job, my main job, to try to age healthy. But if I can't age healthy, why the hell would I want to age at all? To have a life where I'm bedridden, losing my mind, losing who I am and what I know, why would I want to do that? I've reconciled myself to that long ago. So I focus, regardless of what happens to me. I'm a fighter. I'm going to fight for my independence, my mobility. I don't care what it's going to take. And if I can't have that, I doubt I'm going to kill myself. But I will really struggle for a reason why I want to extend it any longer than I have to. I know it sounds kind of strange, and it sounds really strange to a young person, but I'm not the person I was when I was young. I don't have the outlooks, the joie de vivre. Life shrinks as you get older. Your world shrinks as you get older. Even when you watch a movie and they got these old billionaires, they got them in a bed. They're dying, but they're a billionaire. Well, are they happy? Do they care? Do they want to live another 20 years like that? No. You'll understand when you get to this age. You will. Trust me on that. I didn't anticipate this when I was your age if you're younger. Enjoy whatever age you are. Make the best of it. Do the best you can. I did, and that's why I have no regrets. I did it all. I did more than all. I don't want to do any of that again. My bucket list is a blank sheet of paper. Think about that. My bucket list is a blank sheet of paper. There is absolutely nothing that I want to do that I haven't checked off that list. I think maybe the message in that is, don't wait till the end. If you can help it, don't wait till the end to start checking things off your bucket list. Maybe our goal should be complete the bucket list before we get to the end. Then there are no regrets. And you can be content. And I'm content now with all the disaster I've been through. Even the stroke and all that. I'm still content. And I've got my little YouTube channel, and I've got all these people that come in to see me in the morning or in the evening, and it makes me happy. And what I get out of it mostly is I hope that I'm contributing something, maybe some wisdom or some insight, or occasionally a little biochemical explanation. But even those things will bore you after a while, because most people don't know or care what's going on at an atomic level in every cell in their body. It's fascinating, but most people, it doesn't factor into most people's daily lives. And I joke with Kilts all the time. I joke with him. I love the guy. I very rarely tell a man, I love you, but I tell Kilts. Even though we are so wildly different in some of our beliefs, I think it's just the same thing by a different name. And we seem to go by names so much in this. So I guarantee I missed all the questions. I want to take a minute here and scroll real quick down the chat. I do want to again thank you, Francine Bourgeois. Thank you so much for the five memberships. I still enjoy our Thursday night, but I'm still going to keep Tuesday and Saturday open to everybody until I see a majority, and I doubt I'll ever see that, a majority of people in the chat with green names. And I think nothing less of those people who for some reason or other just don't join things. And I can understand that, because I don't join anybody else's private community either. But I'm going to have the Thursday night thing because for myself, not really so much for the people who are members, but for myself, to be able to get together with my friends and have a private meeting and say what's really on my mind sometimes without worrying about ramifications from YouTube. And I still have some bean juice there. Bean juice. I love that. A kiltsism. Another kiltsism is the word scientism. And that's a brilliant observation when you stop thinking about it. Scientism, if you think about what that means. Because anytime you put ism behind a word, it kind of denotes that it's more about people's opinions than anything else. Like most religions. They have isms. So scientism. And then I modified that a little bit and came up with the word scientasm. Scientasm. And a scientasm is getting like orgasmically excited about a chemical reaction, would be a scientasm. So we're inventing a new language as we go here. That shows that we have a sense of humor. A sense of humor, the single most important thing that any human being can have. I pity people that have no sense of humor, that don't have the ability to find absurdity in anything or comedy in anything. And people say, Mitch, what do you do? I say, I'm a comedian. I like to make people laugh. Because it makes me laugh. And when you're laughing, you can't be mad. You can't be upset. I was evidently talking about this earlier because Rick said Benny Hill. I still love Benny Hill. Benny Hill he was a dirty old man. He was absurd, but he was funny. But funny in a vaudeville, slapstick kind of way. But that's comedy. You know how many times I watched the same old George Carlin reruns? Because Carlin was probably one of the masters at finding absurdity in everyday life and the things that we do, just the language we use. The way we look at things, he could find the absolute absurdity in it. I like that. I like that. Bryce Biscuit was here. How you doing? And let me get real quick. Let me get through looking for QQQs. What time am I up to? I'm up to 7:20. Wow. It's a good thing that I'm not in a hurry to finish exactly on the hour, because I never do. There's no reason for me to. If I want to go over a little, I will. Somebody said put the QQQ in front. I might have failed to mention that. Look at all these long comments. Wow. I will read them when I watch the replay. I do read the comments. I'm one of the few YouTubers that has as many comments as I have that actually reads every one of them. I can't react. I can't. But I do read them. I know what you guys are thinking. Yeah. Me does not call. Rick, again, like me, I can't expect everybody to be like me because I'm built a certain way and you're built a certain way. And you can't expect everybody to be like you either. Especially when it comes to sexual urges. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't want anybody to be. I can't imagine a world with two of me in it. It would be overkill. It would absolutely be overkill. Yeah. Oh, Lord, Mitch is that guy who calls when you text. It's true. I am that guy. I'll tell you what it does. It just slows down the number of texts I get. I don't get a lot of texts. Now, if I get a short text from a friend, I'll answer it, of course. I always have the option of A, B. I love those emojis. They give you choices too. Text comes in, they're right there. Oh, look, a thumbs up. Okay, that's my kind of texting. And when you know you're dealing with really busy people. Excuse me a second. No, I'm not ashamed to maybe blow my nose on camera because we all do it. And if I wasn't a carnivore, I'd probably fart too, but I don't do that a lot. Why? When I say I want to ask Kelsey a question, well, I'm going to text him because the guy's busy. And I don't want to bring his phone. So I'll shoot him a text. And it amazes me the number of times he actually answers me right away. And you got to admire a man that's that busy and still makes his personal cell phone number public, something I would never do. And he still manages to usually shoot me a text right back. And then, a lot of times he sent me a text Saturday morning. Yeah, Saturday morning, at a little after 7 in the morning, he sent me a text. Are you free to have a conversation? And I texted back, certainly. And he called me, and we talked for almost 3 hours. Because we become friends like that. I haven't had a friend like that for 10 years, since my dentist buddy Stan. Like a confidant. Like somebody who understands you thoroughly, that you could let your hair down and talk about the problems that you're having. And that was one of those conversations. And 3 hours. It was a great conversation. And I said, come on to my live stream tonight. He says, will do. And he was there. And we had a great time. It's the most important thing in the world to me right now are those people who choose to be my friend. There aren't many of them. And I don't choose many of them back to call a friend. Too many of us confuse acquaintance and friend. We mix up the terminology. When I had a lot of money, and I had big boats and airplanes, I had friends coming out the wazoo. Everybody wanted to be my friend. They wanted me to invite them out for a weekend on the boat. They wanted to fly to the Bahamas with me, my airplane. They wanted to come to my big house for a party. They wanted something that I had. They were all my friends. And when I lost it, when I went broke, I didn't have any friends anymore. Nobody wanted to know me. I couldn't do anything for them anymore. My opinion of the average human being just got trashed. And I still share that today. So when people disappoint you and use you, it takes a long time, if you ever, just to get over that. But that's life. That's life. It makes you cynical. Any more QQQs here? 742. Okay, I am scrolling through it fast. You guys can chat. I'll tell you, Chuck Norris died. Unbelievable. Now, there was a guy. I mean, think about it. There was a guy, Chuck Norris, 86 years old. 7 years older than me. That's it. 7 years older than me. A guy who is the epitome of athletic his entire life. World champion. Was it karate or whatever he started doing? A movie star. All the money he could ever need. What killed him at 86? Why didn't he live to be 120? Like Anthony Chaffee says we're supposed to live to. Why doesn't anybody live to 120? You never hear of a 120-year-old. Show me one. How could 120 be the way we're supposed to be if nobody ever makes it to 120? And don't believe that crap that people write about, whether it's religious writings or no human being ever lived to be 900 years old. In dog years, maybe. Sorry. We're lucky today if we live to be 90. I look at the world, the number of 90-year-olds are infinitesimal, tiny number, percentage. 100, even smaller. Who the hell just... Ellen chimed in. Ellen, good to see you. Good morning, Ellen. Good morning. Are you late? If I haven't been pontificating so much this morning, you would have missed me. But you got me. It's always good to see you. I'm sorry we lost you Saturday night. Your cell phone connection just was not up to snuff walking the dog. But that was kind of cool. To see you walking the dog. But yes, I'm late, but I'm here, says Ellen. Yes, you are, and I'm glad I hung around for you, sweetie. I'm having a good time today. I can't seem to shut up. And I'm just trying to get through the chat here at the last minute. And it's still got 112 people here. This is mind-boggling on a Monday morning. I wish I could address each and every one of these chat entries here. We would be here until Friday if I did that. But I'm looking for any QQQs. Yeah, Chuck Norris. That's so sad. And to see somebody that was so healthy. Now, I don't know if he had any conditions that we didn't know about. But I see, so many of our superstars that we came up with are getting to the age now where they're just falling apart and dying. Like poor old Bruce Willis. My God, that's such a tragedy what he's gone through. And you look at Schwarzenegger and look at the pictures of him when he was Mr. Universe, just getting started. Sylvester Stallone. All of these guys. I say, oh my, I say, God, I don't feel, this is what getting old is about. Rick says, I never entered Butterbob's StreamYard as I know the interview would continue with Knuckles questions. Yeah, I never entered this. Let me tell you why I didn't enter it. I got all ready. I got my settings done. I got my mic. I got my lighting done. I had my headphones on. And I had the push button there said, enter the studio. Was right there, ready to enter. And I was waiting because I didn't want a thumbnail on his screen with my face in it, showing him that I was waiting. Because when that happens to you and you're doing a live stream, you begin to get a little uncomfortable about making people wait. And I didn't want him to think or even know that I was waiting. I was going, wait for you, Rick. This is the truth. I was sitting there and I was saying to myself, well, I know Rick's in the green room because Rick's always in the green room. Something I always really appreciate about you when I do these live streams, and I say, I wonder if anybody's going to come in. In comes Rick. And I breathe a sigh of relief. Okay. Rick likes to do that. And so I said, well, Rick's probably in there, maybe a few other people waiting. And when he's ready, he'll do it. As soon as somebody comes in, I don't want to be the first. I don't want to be a regular. I don't want to be a Butterbob's sidekick. Nor do I want him to be my sidekick. I don't want a sidekick. I had a sidekick once, and that was Ellen. And I loved it. I loved it because I'm so fond of Ellen. And the reason I have no more sidekicks is nobody will ever replace Ellen in my heart. So that's it. And I seem to do pretty well without a side. And I don't want any sidekicks. I want company now and then, but not somebody that feels obligated to be there all the time. And I don't want to be obligated to be there every Sunday to be Bob's sidekick, although I'll help him out every time I can. I think I've helped him. I think he has a tremendous number of people now that follow him every week that were Mitch Fits. And because I was there, they kind of followed along and got introduced to Butterbob. Otherwise, they never would have found them. They never would have found them. There's just too many of us here on YouTube. But I was waiting, and then it got to be 9 o'clock, and they wouldn't let it go. They would not let it go, Rick. You're absolutely right. Whenever it got slow, he would pop another question. Oh, sweetie, tell him about this, tell him about that. And Bob would say, yeah, tell us about this. And then another 10 minutes of something that, and I hate to say this, was not relevant to the conversation. And I was getting tired of it and tired of waiting. And then when it got to be 9 o'clock, I said, well, sorry, this is the way it's going to go. They're never going to let her go. Bob's never going to. He was busy trying to keep it going. And I just said goodnight. And we'll try it again next week. I'll be there for him. He doesn't send me links in advance. He did the first time or two. I felt a little special. But when you're going to do a live, when you're going to do a live stream where you're having a panel, you can pretty well count on the link being in the chat. And when Kelsey asked me to be there on his Sunday thing, I just used the link in the chat. There was no need to send me a link in advance. When you do a live stream where you're going to have a guest, an interview like that, you have to send the person the link. You don't want to put it in the chat unless you have a green room full of people that you don't let in. Who wants to do that? Sorry, let me get back to scrolling. It's a good thing I got nowhere to be this morning except here. Your comments are great. Hey, question. Peter, when you're not on YouTube, are you practicing using your right hand to type and or grip carry? Yeah, I do that all day. I practice using my right hand to do things that I normally would do with my right hand. When I'm cooking, for example, I always try to beat the eggs with my right hand. When I have to reach out for something to get a plate off the shelf, I prioritize using my right hand, even though it's more difficult and it doesn't work as well, and it's getting better. But rather than do dedicated exercises like they have you do in physical therapy, my idea of therapy now after a year is basically you have to do certain things in a normal course of your life. So when I type on the key, I try to use my right hand, even though I hit the wrong key so often. I still can't effectively use a computer mouse with my right hand, but I do try from time to time. But the precision in the movement is not there. Certainly not enough. When I'm doing graphics works or anything, it requires you to grab onto things and move them or cut and paste. Not yet. So I'm becoming ambidextrous, and there are times when I think I may not ever go back to using my mouse right-handed because I'm so comfortable with it now with my left hand that here you can see here my mouse is right here, and I have a piece of paper that acts as kind of a mouse pad because it's optical, and on the black it doesn't work good. And I'm so used to using my mouse over here on my left side. There, see it? That, and trying, I of course reach for the mixer with my right hand, but even still I have to conscientiously think to extend it to the last little bit. And if you watch me when I'm going to hit a button here, you can see that if I don't look at the button, I'll end up hovering around it before I finally land on it to make sure, especially the mute button over here. So it's not bad. It's working pretty good. The strength in my right hand is as strong as it ever was. It's not a strength issue, but I feel a certain stiffness. In my joints that I don't feel in my other hand, and that it's always been that way. Not a lot of numbness or tingling or nerve-associated stuff, but stiff. Feels like a stiff muscle. And it's just coming slowly getting better. But those fine muscle movements are some of the things that takes the brain the longest to rebuild. And my brain has been rewiring itself to find undamaged areas to kind of shift the control over to from those that were killed, because that's what a stroke does. A certain little chunk of your brain dies for lack of oxygen caused by some blood clot somewhere. And the recovery from a stroke is the only reason you can recover at all is because of something called neuroplasticity, the ability of the brain to fix itself, rewire itself. It is so awe-inspiring to know that we can do that. Just the act of healing, if you stop to think about it. You cut yourself, and it heals. You say, well, what a miracle that is. We're programmed that way. The physiology we have is so enormously complicated and miraculous that before we started to learn the science of it, we had to invent religions to explain it. Because there's always been things that we know are so miraculous that we can't explain. The problem we're having these days is we're getting too smart, and we're beginning to understand, because of science, some of those explanations that we couldn't explain before. And then we get a conflict. Well, if we can explain it now, maybe we don't need religion, but the religion's there, and we're stuck with it. So you pick your side. I don't care what side you're on. I honestly don't. And if you believe a certain thing, I don't want to talk you out of it. I just said, you leave me out of yours. That's all. That's all I'm going to say about that this morning, because you know how I get going on that subject. Yes, Mitch is right as always. Thank you, Ellen. We aren't going to live to be 120. Yeah, I think that'd probably be one of the certainties. One of the certainties. And all these billionaires are spending all this money to become immortal. Good luck. Good luck. It makes great fodder for YouTube. And Robbie Autry. Hiya, Robbie. How you doing? Said good morning to Ellen. So I must be getting, if Ellen's here in the chat that I'm going through, I must be getting near the end. H16, Bruce Willis. So is 70 diagnosed with dementia? Yeah, these people, 10 years younger than me. It's a shame. I think most people what was I thinking, Michael? What was I thinking? Sorry, Anthony. What was I thinking? I don't think Anthony Chafee knows that I exist. Honest to God. I really don't think he has ever even been aware of my existence or seen anything I've ever done. And I think the same way about, they all know Rick, but none of them know me. Sean Baker doesn't know me. And I tried to contact Sean Baker years ago, and I got completely and totally ignored. And that's when I decided, all these big YouTube carnivore stars, if they don't come to me, F them. And I still believe that. Now, that doesn't include Ken Burry, because Ken kind of encouraged me to start. I met Ken before when I first started my carnivore journey on YouTube. I met Ken. He encouraged the hell out of me. And he's certainly aware of me, because he and Nisha have talked about me a number of times on his show. So I don't say F him. But the rest of these guys, if they don't call me, I have no use for them. I don't want to be a guest. I don't want to be interviewed by them. I don't give a shit how many subs they have. I don't give a shit how many more subs I might get, because they graced myself with their presence. I don't need it. I've never been a groupie for anybody. So Chafee and Baker and my paths will more than likely never cross. But I give them both a lot of credit for doing a lot of good things. And I do admire both of them. But they got nothing that I need. Not anymore. Not anymore. Chafee's a kid, a child still. He might know an awful lot about medicine and the sports and all that shit, but man, When it comes to, you will not learn about old age until you get old. Nobody can tell you anything. Just like none of us can tell the kids today anything that they'll take seriously, because they're smarter than we are. And I was the same way. You couldn't tell me anything either. So I look back, I remember my life and my attitudes, and I can't find fault with any of these young people, because I was a young person that was just as silly and believed all the same bullshit and was guided by the same urges and instincts that they are. And it was important to me. Superficial things were important. There was no deep thinking about the meaning of life. And the older you get, the more you realize that the only time you wasted in life was taking life too seriously. Taking yourself too seriously. Wow, wow, wow. If you take yourself that seriously, please stay away from me. Wow, where is the bottom of the chat? Holy cow, it's 8:30. I did it. Here it is. The bottom of the chat. Barry Simon is laughing. Thank you, Barry. What a great way to end the live stream. Just laughing our asses off. And you're all still here. And here's a little happy music for you. And say goodbye to all your friends in the chat. I'll say goodbye to all of you. I will be here tomorrow evening, 7 o'clock, Tuesday night, with a panel. Again, Wednesday morning for morning bean juice with Mitch. I'm down to a sip or two. Not bad. That's coffee warmer that Francine Bourgeois bought for me, was it years ago now? It's a must-have in every YouTube studio where coffee plays a role. And Rick is still here. Thomas is here. My BB and E. Sharon M. Yes. Pond Apple. Kathy. Lady June. Juliet. Edens. And yes, Juliet, if I ever do manage to talk to Bob, I will put a word in that he does need more moderators. That's for sure. Bob had a phony Papa Carnivore in there last night. That was the funniest thing I ever saw. Some guy came in with a handle, said Papa Carnivore and something else, and was a troll, and Bob put Peter in a timeout. He said he didn't, but for some reason, Peter couldn't post for 5 minutes. Oh, man. It's those kind of things that make life worth living, Peter. Rough Carnivore says goodbye. Thanks, everybody, so much for being here. I went a half hour over today, and I don't care. I had a ball. What a great way to start Monday morning. And now I'm going to go out and watch the replay and read all your comments. So that's how my morning's going to be today. I can't think of a better way to spend it with my friends. Good to see you. See you tomorrow night. And in the meantime, take the rest of the day off and eat meat.